Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss everything there is to know in the world of soccer, featuring the hottest summer transfers and the top games and competitions from all around the world. I'm Ben.
I'm Alex. Man, that transfer thing is super relevant right now.
Super relevant. Unfortunately, we were out last week because of the holiday here in the United States, Labor Day. We were not available or really even able to come into the studio
Office
to record.
Was closed.
Yes, office was closed. So we will have to kind of fill in 2 weeks worth work of stuff into one episode. So obviously, with that being said, we are going to talk about the transfer deadline, which ended September 1st. So, a while ago, but we still need to talk about it since we were not able to last week. Talk about the top deals on the deadline. We had a few big blockbuster ones, and then overall winners and losers. We're going to take our first break after that, and then we're going to be talking about some of the top games that happened over the weekend, featuring the Manchester Derby, of course. Ooh. And then we are going to lead in the weekend and really midweek as well. We have a lot of great games. We have the Champions League Matchday 1 kicking off tomorrow on Tuesday as well as Wednesday, and then great games across all of the leagues on the weekend. So we are back, just like Landon Donovan is for the LA Galaxy returning last night. We are back here in the studio recording the Soccer Podcast.
Yeah, let's jump into some transfers.
Let's do it. Let's feature some of the top ones on deadline day, and then we'll do winners and losers.
Okay,
so
let's kick it.
Go. Let's kick it off.
Let's start with David Luiz. He's going from PSG to Chelsea for £34 million.
That is probably the biggest summer deadline day signing this year. Obviously, you think about some of the couple big ones the last few years. Gareth Bale going from Tottenham to Real Madrid. We had Mesut Ozil going from Real Madrid to Arsenal. Anthony Martial last year going from Monaco to Manchester United. This year you have, really this was a shock to me, you had David Luiz returning to Stamford Bridge after his couple-year stint at PSG. Think about this. Chelsea sold David Luiz after the World Cup in 2014 for about £50 million to PSG.
Yeah, they got him for a decent amount.
They buy him back for between 32, 34, depending on the reports.
Yeah, about $16 million less.
So about $16 million less, they get him back. David Luiz talked about his time at PSG, and he said, it was a nightmare. I hated it. And now he's back in Chelsea, where he really kind of made his name in a stint. So,
Can you say why it was a nightmare?
I don't know. He just really hated it. He said it was like I was playing FIFA the whole time, like kind of worthless.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean? And which I find kind of interesting because he won a couple of league titles with PSG, got kind of far in the Champions League, quarterfinal stages. So
you find it kind of weird because you're like, FIFA's not worthless.
Exactly. I love the demo comes out tomorrow. We are about 2 weeks away from the launch of the game.
And I already got my Madden. I'm good.
I am hyped, okay?
I'm glad.
I'm even hyped for the demo tomorrow. And you know what?
I have the demo from last year.
Well, you can download the demo for this year tomorrow. So, but anyways, David Luiz definitely the big deadline day summer signing this year. I was surprised. Chelsea definitely needed a center back. You think about who they have. Gary Cahill is decent. And John Terry, their captain, he's just really, really old. He has, I'd say at the most, a year after this left in football. So they definitely needed a signing. Kurt Zuma, the Frenchman, is still out with an injury. A lot of people are saying David Luiz is maybe a panic buy. They had a couple more options in mind, but nevertheless, they do bring David Luiz back to Stamford Bridge, and have to see how it does.
All right, moving on to your beloved Arsenal, loaning out Jack Wilshere to Bournemouth.
Yes, Jack Wilshere going out to Bournemouth. This is the guy we saw in San Jose, Jack Wilshere.
Yes, we did.
So I was really surprised about reports of Jack Wilshere getting loaned out. The deadline day was on Wednesday, so the reports were surfacing Monday night and Tuesday that Wilshere was going to be loaned out. Looking at even clubs like Roma in Italy, but he obviously wants to stay in England, his home country. So it was looked at either Bournemouth or Crystal Palace. I thought he would go to Crystal Palace because they're still in London, so it's still a London team as Arsenal is. So he wouldn't have to.
That's a pretty name,
Crystal Palace. So he wouldn't have to go as far. But he is going to Bournemouth, where it's definitely a win for Bournemouth. This is a side that this is their second time ever in the Premier League. Last year was their first, and they stayed in the league. So they're obviously going to be fighting, trying to get and keep a spot in the Premier League. You put a player like Jack Wilshere in there. If he can stay healthy, he's always injured, it seems like. But if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a first-team midfielder for them the whole season and a really important player if they're going to stay in the Premier League. When I look at Wilshere going out on loan, it doesn't really surprise me when I break it down because you have, with Arsenal, how they play, you have the two holding midfielders and then you have the attacking midfielder. So you have Mesut Ozil. If he is fit and healthy, he's going to be that attacking midfielder every time out. He's one of the best in the world. So then you have two other midfield positions in that holding midfield role. You have Granit Xhaka, who they just brought in the summer for £34 million. They paid a lot for him. He's really impressed so far. If he's fit and healthy, you got to expect he's going to be playing most times, okay? And then you have the other position right now who's being filled by Santi Cazorla. He's been really impressive in the league as well. He's got a couple assists, scored a couple of goals. Although they are penalties, they still do count as goals. He's kind of been their key player, in my opinion, this year, Arsenal, because he's being so consistent in that midfield, providing a lot of great balls, attacking, really getting forward. So you have those positions filled at the moment. I think Granit Xhaka is sort of going to be someone who's maybe rotated a little bit, just trying to stay fit. But if they are fit at all times, you have to expect Mesut Ozil and Santi Cazorla to be playing at all times. So then you have one midfield position who can be filled by, listen to all these names. Jack Wilshere,
good.
Aaron Ramsey,
Like him.
Santi Cazorla's there. So you have Granit Xhaka,
Good player.
Mohamed El Neni, Francis Coquelin. That's five guys who are maybe vying for one spot in the midfield at all times. That's just too many people. So you have to send one of them out. Obviously, that's what Wilshere's doing. Hopefully for Arsenal, he can get a lot of first-team action, improve, stay healthy, and then come back next year.
Get a little bit more durability.
Exactly, yeah.
Hurts so much.
That's what I think it is. And like I said, it's a win for Bournemouth. They're going to use a player like Wilshere, his good abilities to try and stay in the league.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how about after rumors of possibly going to Everton, Moussa Sissoko from Newcastle to Tottenham for £30 million as well?
So this is an interesting story because Moussa Sissoko was actually on his way to Everton. He had a medical scheduled. He was, mid-air. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, Tottenham put in a last-minute bid. He has a choice between Everton and Tottenham. He chooses Tottenham. Obviously, higher as about the same amount of money for Everton, but maybe contract-wise might be a little different. I'm not too sure. But you look at the two teams, obviously, I'm personally not a Tottenham fan. As an Arsenal fan, I am, so I'm not a big fan of Tottenham. But obviously, look at the numbers. Tottenham are a much better team. They're going to be playing in the Champions League, have a better chance to win the Premier League than Everton do as it stands right now, in my opinion. So you're going to choose them every time. You know what I mean? But here's what I find interesting with Sissoko. Early on in the transfer window, he talked so highly of Arsenal. He talked about how Arsenal would be a dream to play for. I love Arsenal. Who wouldn't want to play for the beloved Arsenal? And now he's signing for Tottenham? That's like, okay, Alex, you're a Steelers fan in the NFL. That's like a free agent talking about how much he loves the Bengals and the Ravens and he would be a dream to play for them, and then he goes and signs for the Steelers. You know what I mean? It's like,
I would find it funny.
The arch rival, you talked about how much you love them, and then you sign for them? That makes no sense at all. So for Sissoko, it's a good move. He gets out of Newcastle, which is a team in the football championship right now, not even in the Premier League. So he gets up to England's top flight again. He's a player who really impressed in the European Championships with France. $30 million is a lot of money for Sissoko, I believe. I don't think he's really worth that price range, that asking price. I think Tottenham kind of panicked by thinking they needed a midfielder. I don't expect Sissoko to really contribute so much right now. I really don't. If Sissoko was so great, then why did Newcastle get relegated? You know what I mean? So I think Sissoko is definitely capable, but I think it's a big, big surprise, and I'd say a really overrated move.
All right, and moving on to one of the more notable names, not necessarily notable moves, but more notable names in the last few years. And Mario Balotelli moving from Liverpool to Nice.
Yeah, that's on a free contract.
Get him out of here.
Balotelli has really, really disappointed since he's been at Liverpool. He's been there 2 years and he scored 1 goal. They put him on loan last year to AC Milan, where he formerly was before. He didn't even do that great there either. So now he moves to Nice in the French league, and get this, his first game over the weekend, scores 2 goals. Definitely a good move for Balotelli. Going to be getting a lot of first game action where he's really disappointed lately. And who knows, maybe he can sort of resurrect and revive his career a little bit.
Where's Nice based?
That's in France. So they're in the French league. So Nice, they were a side last year that did really well. They finished in 3rd in the league, led by Hatem Ben Arfa, who has since moved to PSG. So Nice actually joint top of the league right now with Monaco at 10 points. So,
well, Balotelli did say that joining Liverpool was the worst decision of his life.
Yeah, it did not work out, absolutely at all. So
yeah. I was seeing,
not really surprised.
I was seeing if maybe I thought Nice was in France. I was pretty sure, but I was making sure that he wasn't anywhere near Italy. I was like, maybe he just need to get back to the homeland.
Yeah, well, he did that last year with Milan, and it didn't really work out too well either.
Yeah,
so Mario Balotelli, hopefully it'll be a good move for him. So we'll have to wait and see. Some other big news, not necessarily big news, but some names that you will know that sort of went out this year. So Samir Nasri goes from Manchester City to Sevilla on loan. That's a big move. Manchester City making more news. But you have, what's his name? It's escaping me. You have Wilfried Bony. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So the striker Wilfried Bony going on loan to Stoke City. I think that's a good move for Stoke. They're currently last in the league. They need attacking options. He's a really strong striker. Didn't really work out since Bony came over from Swansea City a couple of Januaries ago. So he will get a lot of first-team action with Stoke as well.
Okay, so let's move to some winners and losers, you were saying, from this transfer period. Who are some guys or some teams you have as winners in this one?
So as winners, you and I both have some, so I'm not going to steal your thunder on some of these. But
thanks, man.
I'm sorry, but one of my winners, actually, surprisingly, it kind of ties in with Manchester United, is I'm going to say Juventus. They're a big winner for me. They got rid of Paul Pogba for a record transfer fee, so they made a lot of money on that deal, and they used it to their advantage. They brought in Miralem Pjanic. They brought in Dani Alves from Barcelona. He's one of the best right backs in the world and one of the best of the last 10 years. They also brought in Gonzalo Higuain to team up with Paulo Dybala up there at the striker position. Higuain's got 3 goals in 3 games for Juve. They're still a really solid team. I think they've gotten better with the sort of departure of Pogba because they've strengthened their squad a lot more and got rid of that one guy and brought in really 3-4 guys. So I'm going to say Juventus is a big winner for me. Another winner for me is going to be Inter Milan. They really did a lot to bolster their squad as well. They brought in Gabigol. They also brought in João Mario. They did a lot. They have a lot of good players already, like Miranda, Mauro Icardi at the striker position has done good for the last couple of years. I think they're a team that can maybe compete to sort of get into the Champions League again. I think Juventus are still the best team in Italy. But Inter Milan I see as a team that can maybe sort of bolster their squad a little bit. And then my last winner sort of here is I'm going to say Leicester City.
Okay.
Because they only had to get rid of N'Golo Kante. They kept Jamie Vardy. They kept Riyad Mahrez. They brought in Islam Slimani, a record fee. They brought in Ahmed Musa at the striker position. So they're getting really depth at striker. They like to run 2 strikers at the same time. And they only had to let go of N'Golo Kante. He's the only guy that left. You would have imagined in the summer that maybe Riyad Mahrez would go. Jamie Vardy, Arsenal wanted him, but he decided to turn them down. So they can sort of keep their squad intact. They've really kind of been struggling so far in the league as far as the season goes. They're 15th. They had a really bad loss on Saturday to Liverpool, 4-1. But now they have the Champions League to build on, sort of try and stay and be a good, consistent side in the Premier League. Leicester City had a good window, in my opinion.
Okay. So my winners, my winners are going to be Manchester City and Manchester United. So Manchester United kind of came out, big time. They signed some big players, most notably Zlatan Ibrahimovic this year. They got Pogba, like you said. They brought in some good players. They really did. Some guys that are going to help their team from day one, in my opinion. They got Eric Bailey, Henrik. I always forget how to say his name. Mkhitaryan, right?
There you go.
Those are all big players for them, and they kind of changed the whole blueprint of this team. I feel like Zlatan's come in and played nothing but great. He's got a goal in almost every game so far. I think 3 or 4 or whatever it is, 4 or 5. Of that many games, not as many goals. But Zlatan's played great. Paul Pogba's played well. I'm not sure how much Mkhitaryan's been playing in terms of just overall. I haven't seen that much of him, but to be fair, I've only got really two and a half games of time to watch, really. And then, like I said, Eric Bailey's also just a nice, solid addition to the team, you know? So that's, you know, like I said, they really, excuse me, they really went from kind of a team, like you said, that didn't even make the Champions League this year. They didn't even get to that point, you know. They did a lot in the time between there, getting a new manager and adding these players to really improve their team, in my opinion.
I agree, definitely.
Excuse me, man, these allergies, man. And Manchester City, in the same sense, they added even more players. They added a lot of players. They went and got Claudio Bravo, Gabriel Jesus. They got Aaron Mui. A lot of good players to add to the team. Aaron Mui for free, as a matter of fact. Leroy Sané. A lot of players this year. Not as many notable names, I would say, as Man U got.
Definitely.
But more players for not as much money, in my opinion. Probably headlined by Claudio Bravo. Probably the biggest name of that group. But, excuse me. I think they did. I mean, obviously they're playing well. We'll get into. I won't say who won, but it was a great game this weekend in the Manchester Derby. So they did just as many things to really propel them into the next level as well this year to keep up with Man U, because Man U kind of became the powerhouse almost, and they're looking to take over that English Premier League this year, and they've done great. But Man City's kept up right with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Manchester City's biggest addition this summer was not even a player. It was Pep Guardiola, the manager.
Yeah, you can
because he's changed that side so much. I look at players like Kevin De Bruyne. I think he's benefited most from Guardiola. I'd say right now he's the best player in the league right now. What he's doing in that midfield, attacking, passing, scoring goals, he's looked like the best player in the league in my opinion so far. And I think a lot of that, I mean, he's already a great player already, but a lot of that, in my opinion, is the Guardiola effect, how he can sort of change and transform these midfielders. So I definitely agree with you on Manchester City. Okay, Gundogan, you know, I mean, you mentioned Leroy Sané. Nolito's played good for them on that left-hand side, so they're a big winner as well. So,
okay, who are your losers?
Got a couple of losers here. Number one, I'm going to start with Liverpool. I think they're a big loser in the transfer window. You look at how it started off, and it started off great. They bring in Sadio Mane. They brought in Jorginho Wijnaldum from Newcastle. Two good, exciting midfielders. Mane had scored a goal over the weekend. He scored against Arsenal. He's a good, fast, pacey winger. He's from Southampton formerly, so he knows the league already. Not much to adjust to. You brought in Jorginho Wijnaldum. He seems to be doing okay. That's a good addition as well. But for me, it's because they didn't do enough to strengthen the defense. You look at Simon Mignolet. He's not necessarily a great goalkeeper. Alberto Moreno on that left fullback position is sort of like a joke. Most people look at him as, you know, a terrible, terrible player. They're trying James Milner back there, but he's not a natural defender, so he's kind of struggling. Their center back pairing is always flippy-floppy. They didn't bring anyone in to really strengthen that defense, and that's why I think Liverpool are a big loser for me, because they have the attacking options. Look at Roberto Firmino, Daniel Sturridge, Philippe Coutinho, bring in Mane already, like as I mentioned. They have the attacking options, but it's just the defense that I think is going to be their downfall this year and really going to not give them a chance to win the league, in my opinion. I got a couple other losers. Really, the big ones for me are Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. I say that because they are both on transfer ban for the next year now. They cannot sign anyone until January 2018. They violated rules for as far as underage players, how the transfer business goes. They lost their appeal over the weekend. So they can basically sign players, but you can't register them to your team until January 2018. So say I want to sign you.
Yeah, reasonable. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Of course I would want to sign you. A record fee as well, as I might say.
£200.
So I might bring you in. But I can't have you play for my team until January 2018.
I wouldn't want to sign with you.
Exactly. So that's going to hurt their teams. Obviously, two of the bigger clubs in Europe, definitely the two of the bigger clubs in Spain. It's Madrid. It's the capital. It's Real Madrid, the European champions. So, of course, you want to go there. But if you know you can't play there for a year, that's going to sort of change people's decisions and their minds about where they want to go. So I think they're the big losers because they just can't bring anyone in. And it's not like they need to really bolster their squad much because they're already really solid teams. But you can't bring anyone in. That's definitely going to hurt you.
Okay, understandable.
So yeah, those are my two big losers just because they had that ban. A couple other losers, in my opinion, Joe Hart, as far as a player, is a loser. not necessarily a player, but I'm talking about a loser of the window. Because Pep Guardiola comes in, he doesn't even play Joe Hart. You know what I mean? He sort of threw him to the side. He goes out on loan to Torino in Italy. He's going from Manchester City to Torino in Serie A, a team that's really not going to compete very well. I think he's definitely a big loser of the window just because of the treatment he's gotten from Guardiola and City. They brought in Claudio Bravo, as you mentioned. He's going to be their first-team goalkeeper all year long, and Joe Hart just kind of the odd man out there, so he kind of threw him to the side.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, man.
Yeah, for a guy who's really done so much for Manchester City, winning multiple Premier League titles with them, sort of been their leader for so many years now, just to kind of get swept under the rug and everything. And I kind of feel bad for Joe Hart, but, I mean, it is what it is. Pep Guardiola's a new manager. He's going to run it the way he sees fitting, so kind of just the odd man out, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, he came out this week already saying that he's trying to win the Premier League and the Champions League, so he's not playing any games this year, man. He's
No, and Guardiola and Manchester City definitely are strong threats, in my opinion, to do both, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes. We have our first action tomorrow and Wednesday for the Champions League, and we'll talk about how Manchester City are going to play.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but, well...
Later in the show.
Later in the show. We're going to talk about top games from this weekend and notable games, actually, in a second. So let's take our first break. How about that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You like that?
I do, yes.
All right, let's take our first break, and we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. We are going to be talking about some of the top games that happened over the weekend and breaking them down before we start previewing some of the top games of the Champions League and in the weekend in our next segment. So, Alex, I know, again, that caught your eye being a Manchester United fan was the Manchester Derby on Saturday.
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I'd hope you would be, because actually your team has dominated the series, but on Saturday, not quite the result you were looking for. Manchester City come out on top on the road in Old Trafford.
I mean, how on the road is it, Ben?
5 miles.
That's literally closer than my job is currently from my house.
Well, it's still on the road. Okay?
All they had to do was walk over there if they wanted to.
But they come out on top of Manchester United in Old Trafford, Manchester United's home stadium, legendary stadium. They come out on top 2-1. We had goals from Kevin De Bruyne in the first half, and then Kelechi Iheanacho. And then Zlatan Ibrahimovic scores near the end of the first half for Manchester United. It was really just a poor effort from Claudio Bravo. He goes out to try and catch the ball and drops it, and then Ibrahimovic just volleys it into the back of net. A good finish, but yet again, Manchester City bringing in a goalkeeper, but yet some still goalkeeper issues. Bravo really struggled on this game. You know, if I'm Joe Hart, I'm looking at it and saying, you got rid of me for that? You know, I could have done that, you know. There was maybe even a penalty shout. Wayne Rooney had a chance at a penalty. It seemed like Bravo kind of slid in when the ball got away from him. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was a penalty. He did come out with the studs up, which is definitely not a good thing. But he did get to the ball before Wayne Rooney. I don't think it was a penalty. But it was still definitely a controversial effort.
Well, now, man, after this win, yeah, they lost 2-1. Manchester City is in possession of first place in the Premier League, followed by Chelsea and Man United in third. So, yeah, not happy, Ben.
Not for you, not at all.
On the flippity-flip, your favorite team, Arsenal, did come out with a win this weekend over Southampton, 2-1.
Yes, I did watch the game. I think definitely it was not a good effort by Arsenal. You had the debuts.
I don't think I've ever heard you say good effort by Arsenal.
Well, they didn't play good.
Maybe in the All-Star game this year.
They did not play good. You had the debuts of center back Skodran Mustafi and striker Lucas Perez. We talked about them a couple weeks ago when they got signed by Arsenal. So definitely it's a nice thing to see those two players in. I thought Mustafi really played good. I thought that center back pairing with Laurent Koscielny is something that's going to be really, really strong as the league goes on. Lucas Perez didn't do much up front, which is kind of not surprising. Coming over from the Spanish league to the Premier League, there's a lot of an adjustment period going on. He maybe had a couple of chances that could have fell to him, but they didn't. So they came out on top 2-1. Laurent Koscielny, in my opinion, was one of the best players of the game for Arsenal. I mean, he's a defender. Okay, Alex.
Okay.
He scores a bicycle kick in the penalty box. He's a central defender.
What's he doing over there?
Well, it was a corner kick, so of course the defenders come up. But he scores a penalty. Not a penalty. He scores a bicycle kick. That's incredible. On his birthday.
That's pretty awesome.
Literally the best birthday gift you could have.
Yeah, I guess.
So, I mean, but Arsenal did not play good. And then, we kind of got bailed out, in my opinion. In the 90th minute, Olivier Giroud goes down from Jose Font. They were kind of battling as a cross-win in. The referee called a penalty. I didn't necessarily agree with it. I don't think it was a penalty. And then Santi Cazorla, the magical little Spaniard, steps up to the spot and puts it past Fraser Forster to give Arsenal the 2-1 win. Of course,
I call
Arsenal...
him Fraser Foster Freeze. That's what I call him.
That's a great name.
Thanks.
But of course, Arsenal are going to be happy with the 3 points, as well as Arsenal fans, but they did not play good. But at the same time, you have to look at it and say, this is what championship teams do. They find a way to get points when they shouldn't have. They find a way to get wins when they shouldn't have. Like, if this was Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, people will be talking about how they managed to find a way to win, managed to find a way to get points. You know what I mean? So I think you have to kind of give Arsenal a pat on the back for finding a way to get to win, and they did win. So as far as the Manchester derby goes, like as you mentioned, it was a tough game, but I really think Manchester City dominated. That's my big takeaway from it. Kevin De Bruyne in particular, I builded him up in the first segment, but he played absolutely outstanding. He hit the post a couple of times. He had a goal. He could have had a couple more, just hitting the post. It bounces off one way or another. But he absolutely dominated it. He looks like the best player in the league, in my opinion, right now. He's just dominating the midfield, putting in great crosses, getting forward, attacking, scoring goals. He's playing really well, and I think a lot of that is because of Pep Guardiola. He's taking him to a whole nother level. We had a lot of great games still in the Premier League over the weekend. We talked about Liverpool dominating Leicester City 4-1. Leicester City really, really falling out of it. 16th place in the league, only 4 points out of 4 games. And really, their one goal was gifted to them. The defender absolutely kicked it right to Jamie Vardy, and he just, chipped it into the net. So, just tapped it in. So, really, they're just not playing well. They have already played a tough schedule, in my opinion, having to already go up against Liverpool and Arsenal, who are 5th and 6th, respectively, in the league. So, definitely some tough teams, but they're just not having that same result, that same mentality, that same passion and drive that they were last year. So I think they're really going to struggle a little bit in the league so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That last year I wouldn't say it was a fluke, but it was definitely an interesting thing. Yeah, there's only one game on Sunday, and that would be Chelsea hosting Swansea City, 2-2 draw.
Yeah, so this was a game that Chelsea had to come from behind again. Really, Diego Costa, he's like the come from behind hero for Chelsea. He comes from behind and helped them win against West Ham. Came from behind, helped them win against Watford. He comes from behind and scores in the 81st minute. He scores a overhead bicycle kick as well as Koscielny did on Saturday. He scores to even it at 2-2. They come away with a draw, a game they probably shouldn't have even gotten a draw in. So that's a good result for Chelsea to get a point out of a game they shouldn't have. They are currently 2nd in the league with 10 points. They're off to a good start. They haven't lost yet. Just one draw with 3 wins. So it's definitely an okay position. But I feel like they should have got away with a win against Swansea. Swansea City's not doing too well. 13th, 4 points out of 4 games. So
yeah, that'll do it. All right, let's move over to La Liga. They had some matches this weekend. So Saturday had pretty good matchups. Atletico Madrid started its year with, 4-0.
Yeah, they definitely returned to some of that game mentality they had last year. They always had a strong defense, but now they're finally back up scoring goals. Antoine Griezmann, the magical Frenchman, had 2 goals on his own right. They really dominated.
Moving to the fellow Madrid, Real Madrid, 5-2 over Osasuna.
Yeah, you had the return of Cristiano Ronaldo, his first game back at Real Madrid. He only started practicing this week, and now he returns on Saturday.
It's Ronaldo, though. It's not like it's some scrub.
And what does he do? But only score in the 6th minute, right away, just right off the bat. I mean, It's almost like riding a bicycle for him. He doesn't even need practice, like Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? He's just automatically there, helps them win 5-2. A good performance from Real Madrid.
We had 2 other games on Saturday between the one I most spoke of in a minute, but Sevilla FC defeats La Palma 2-1 and Villarreal 2-0 over Malaga. But, dude, what happened with Barcelona?
This was the big storyline in La Liga over the weekend.
1-2 loss to Alaves?
Yes, they lose to a team that's just getting brought up. You know what I mean? When you look at Barcelona, this is a team they should have destroyed. You know what I mean? They just couldn't really get it done. This is a big result for Barcelona. They're already dropping 3 points to teams like Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. So they're still ahead of them on the table. But Barcelona, sitting in at 5th right now, only 3 games in, that one loss, that's really big. It's a team they should not have lost to. You know what I mean? So this is definitely a big result and a big loss for Barca.
Oh, yeah, that insane big loss for them. They're supposed to be a team that's right up there to win it, and I'm not saying they won't be, but you lose to a team that just got promoted. Whew.
Yeah, and you're already dropping 3 points to Real Madrid. That's the most important part because you know they're going to keep winning.
Oh yeah,
you know that Atletico Madrid, although they are struggling,
they're
going to keep winning as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a bad loss in my opinion. It's a game they should not have got away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame. That's a big shame. There were some games on Sunday, not as many notable games. Athletic Bilbao did win against Deportivo La Coruña 1-0. Valencia lost to Real Betis 3-2. Not very many notable games as much as there was on Saturday. So
yeah, not necessarily in La Liga, but we did have some games across France and Italy that I do want to mention. So we had PSG draw with ASSE. PSG really playing terrible. Through 4 games, they only have 4 goals. How much of that do you think is the departure of Zlatan Ibrahimovic?
He clearly brought a lot of goals with him to Old Trafford, so maybe it could be a big thing. He's always been a goal scorer his whole career, so it very much could be the fact they lost that presence there in the middle.
Yeah, they currently sit in at 7th. They have 7 points. They did already lose to Monaco. So PSG really, really struggling. They have a big game tomorrow, which we will talk about in the next segment. So they got to try and find a way to get things done. They're struggling already. So I don't know. We mentioned Mario Balotelli scores 2 goals for Nice, a really big performance. They currently sit joint top with Monaco at 10 points. Hopefully Balotelli can return to some of his prior days with Manchester City and AC Milan and really help Nice, a team that are kind of surprising to be up there so far in my eyes. So
yeah, and let's move real quick before our last break. Yeah, I was going to say first break. We're going to go some Bundesliga. Borussia Dortmund lost to RB Leipzig 1-0.
Big surprise.
Yeah, big surprise there. That was this Saturday, and Bayern Munich just moving on up to the east side. 2-0 over Schalke in a win. Like I said on Friday, Werder Bremen lost to FC Augsburg. A draw between Mainz and Hoffenheim 4-4. Not a lot of huge games this weekend between the teams in the Bundesliga, but some good matchups. Saturday had a lot more. Bayer Leverkusen 3-1 over Hamburg. Borussia Mönchengladbach did lose to SC Freiburg, so 3-1 right there. It's not a huge amount of matchups, but soccer, Ben.
And we definitely have some important ones. You have Borussia Dortmund already dropping points to Bayern Munich, points that they just cannot afford to drop, almost like Barcelona and Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. Just have to consistently keep winning because you know your opposition is going to be doing the exact same thing. So it's definitely something, that they are going to look back and say, wow, like, that's a game we should have had.
Needed that, yeah. It's a shame, man. But I know you're just excited about the UEFA Champions League, as I am. That gets started tomorrow. We're going to cover that after the break.
Yes, we will.
So let's take it to the break.
Let's do it. So we will be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Coming out of the break, we're going to preview the Champions League matchups from Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as any games that are going to be catching our eye over the weekend, because there are a few. So we'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, and let's get into this upcoming week and weekend of action. Tomorrow starts the UEFA Champions League.
Yeah, we have the group stages finally kicking off tomorrow and Wednesday. A lot of great games. Why don't we just talk about the matchups?
Yeah, I'll cover Tuesday. You cover Wednesday. Sound good?
That sounds amazing.
All right, so every single game gets started at the same time tomorrow, so it doesn't matter where you are, when you are, or what you are. Watch some soccer. FC Basel and Ludo Goretz, 11:45. Man City and Mönchengladbach, 11:45. Bayern Munich facing off against FC Rostov. Atletico Madrid facing off against PSV Eindhoven. Barcelona and Celtic. Napoli and Dynamo Kiev. PSG and Arsenal.
Arsenal.
There you go. And Besiktas and Benfica. All of these are going on tomorrow. What about Wednesday, Ben?
So on Wednesday, we have Tottenham facing Monaco. We have Real Madrid against Sporting Lisbon. So you have Ronaldo against his former club.
Ronaldo's former club.
In Portugal.
Yeah.
So you have Club Brugge taking on the English champions Leicester City. You have Juventus taking on the Europa League three-time defending champions Sevilla. You have Porto facing Copenhagen. You have Bayer Leverkusen facing CSKA Moscow. You have Lyon against Dinamo Zagreb. And then you have Dortmund taking on Legia Warsaw.
There's some definitely some matches I'll take a look at. Man City and Mönchengladbach, Bayern Munich, Barcelona for sure. I know you're really waiting for the Arsenal PSG game.
That is definitely the biggest game on Tuesday, and I'd say the biggest game
one on Tuesday. Other than for me, I'm excited for the Bayern Munich game, but pure matchup wise, that's probably that and the Man City Mönchengladbach games are two of the bigger ones.
Yeah, I'd say the PSG and Arsenal game is the biggest game of Week 1. Period.
Yeah.
Definitely two of the top teams in all of Europe facing off. The game is going to be in Paris, so PSG will be the home team. Definitely a team who's kind of struggling right now in the French league. It'll be interesting to see how Arsenal kind of match up against them. I would expect a lot of great players to play for Arsenal. They rested a lot of guys over the weekend, in my eyes, to get ready for this game. So I think that'll be a good game. I could see maybe Arsenal's kind of squeaking away with a win here, or even a draw. I would not expect anything to happen because you can always expect the unexpected in soccer.
That doesn't make any sense.
But you know what I mean? So I don't know exactly what to expect. That's what I'm saying. So because PSG have been struggling so bad, but they are at home. They're facing a great team in Arsenal. They've had a lot of success against English teams. You know, they lost last season in the Champions League to Manchester City, but then they beat Chelsea the last couple of years in the round of 16. So they do have success against English teams, but they are without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's at Man United now, and he was really their best threat. So now you have to look to guys like Edinson Cavani, Angel Di Maria, probably Marco Verratti creating a lot of stuff in that midfield. So I think that's going to be where the game is kind of won, is who can dominate the midfield, because they both have some attacking options who are capable up front. You look at Arsenal, Alexis Sanchez. I'm not sure who they're going to start at striker. I would imagine Olivier Giroud would start, but you never know. So they do have attacking options up front. I think it's going to be who dominates that midfield and who can control that midfield is going to come out on top in this game, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. I'm also looking forward to Napoli and Dinamo Kiev, and then Atletico Madrid and PSV Eindhoven. That's a rematch of last year's round of 16 game that went to penalty kicks, and Atletico Madrid ended up winning. So I think those are some great games to look forward to. As far as Wednesday, I don't think it's necessarily as great of a schedule as Tuesday. I think that maybe Tottenham and Monaco is maybe the best game, period. I really do expect Tottenham to win that game. I think Juventus will beat Sevilla. I think Real Madrid, of course, against Portugal, Sporting Lisbon. I think that's definitely going to be a good game. Ronaldo's going to maybe have a little bit more of an emphasis to play, having played his former team and a team from his own country, his nationality. So I think that'll be a good game to look forward to. But As always, we're going to have to break down the games on next week's show, talk about some surprising results, and also update the group tables because every single game between the 2 days will be in action, which is obviously a great thing. The top competition in Europe, this is what everybody looks at. This is what champions are made of, hence the Champions League.
There you go. Some other games real quick before we get going that's taking place this weekend. Let's start with the Premier League. We have Chelsea taking on Liverpool on Friday.
Big game. Biggest game, in my opinion, of the weekend.
Arsenal turns around right after their Champions League match tomorrow and faces Hull City. Defending champion Leicester City takes on Burnley. Manchester City, fresh off of their game against Mönchengladbach tomorrow, are facing Bournemouth. West Bromwich is taking on West Ham. And Everton against Middlesbrough. And then on Sunday, my favorite Red Devils taking off Watford at Old Trafford. Crystal Palace and Stoke City. Swansea City and Southampton. And then Ben's second favorite, Tottenham Hotspur.
You mean my least favorite?
Yeah, against Sunderland.
Yeah, I mean, a game they should win. Like, should be able to beat Sunderland. But I'm going to look at on Friday the Chelsea-Liverpool game. It's a 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time kick, 3 Eastern, 8 o'clock local time in the UK. So I look at that game, Chelsea and Liverpool, a game that I really could see go either way. You have Liverpool at home. They had their first home game of the weekend to start the season. It was their fourth game, their first home game against Leicester City. They absolutely pounded them 4-1. It's crazy that they haven't had any home games yet. You know what I mean? So they're going to have home against Chelsea, second Chelsea in the league, fifth Liverpool right now. So a game I could see go either way. It seems like Chelsea seems to always squeak out at least a tie, some sort of a result. I think this could be a high-scoring game. I would expect maybe the debut of David Luiz for Chelsea again because John Terry is going to be out this weekend. He's really doubtful for the game. He has a leg injury he suffered in their game yesterday against Swansea City. So you could see the debut of David Luiz. I do expect that. I don't know what to expect in this game. I'm going to say a draw. I'm going to say something like 2-2. I expect both teams to at least score a couple of goals. So I think that's definitely the best game leading into the weekend, and it is the standalone game on Friday. So a lot of people are going to have their eyes on that game.
All right, and then let's finish off with La Liga. There are some games on Saturday and Sunday. Notably, Saturday we have Atletico Madrid taking on Sporting Gijon. That's Saturday morning. Sevilla's taking on Eibar, and Barcelona takes on Leganes. On Sunday, though, is when who's looking to really just take off and try to keep winning and take that first place. Real Madrid takes on Espanyol, and Valencia facing off against Athletic Bilbao. Makes you think of Lord of the Rings every time. Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins. Atletico Bilbao.
Bilbao, yeah. And then,
Bilbao Baggins.
If you want to cover all of them, Celtic Vigo and Osasuna and Villarreal and Real Sociedad.
Yeah, definitely really important games in all of the leagues. I'd say with La Liga, you have the three-headed monster, so it's a lot more competitive. Every single one of those teams needs to go out and win every time. And then it's really important when they play each other. Think about El Clasico. Think about the Madrid derby, Atletico and Real. And then you think about when Barcelona plays Atletico Madrid. So every one of those games is really important. And Barcelona taking sort of that first step down in losing to Alaves over the weekend. So they definitely need to rebound, and I think they will. They're still a great side, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Barcelona are still so formidable, especially up front, you know. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But, as always, we will have to keep you updated here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. We will be back next Monday talking about all things and results in soccer, Champions League, games of the weekend, and anything else that just happens to come up in soccer.
Anything else that just tickles your fancy?
Anything else that just wants me to sort of drive it through and put it in the back of the net.
Oh, nice. I like that one.
Yes.
I like that one. Okay. Well, where can they find us?
Well, that's going to conclude our show, unfortunately, but you can find us on a certain plethora of forms and media playback systems and websites all over the place. So you can find us on our website's homepage. That's gsmcpodcast.com. Click on the Soccer Portfolio Podcast. You can hear all the episodes. This is number 16. So hear the previous 15 as well as this one. And then there's other great podcasts on the website as well. You can find us on iTunes. That's a big one for us. SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter and Instagram. Our handles are at GSMC_soccer.
I like it.
I love it.
I'll be looking forward to definitely some matches tomorrow, as I'm sure you will be. And we'll see you back here on Monday, as a matter of fact, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, until then, as always, I am Alex.
I'm Ben.
we'll see you cats later. You, like I said, enjoy your football for the week, and we'll be back on Monday to recap it all.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
Have a good week.